I'm Justin Boyd.
I'm Brittany Pacheco.
And I am Tristan Jones.
And we are from Hell's Kitchen, the Watchers in the Basement.
Welcome to the Watchers in the Basement. We are here today to discuss the 7th episode of the first season of Daredevil Born Again, episode titled Art for Art's Sake. Let's get right to it. Let's get our overall thoughts on the 7th episode of Daredevil Born Again. Brittany, start us off. What did you think about this episode?
So I had to go back and rewatch because I felt like I was missing some kind of like vital information of things that are transpiring in this episode. And I have questions, of course, which I'm happy we're here to discuss because I love getting insight from all of you here on Watchers, as well as those in the live stream. We appreciate those who take the time out of their day to join us in the live chat. We always love the engagement. So I have questions, naturally. I would love the fact that we got to see Daredevil as Daredevil kicking ass. Like we're back with that, which was great. I'm a little miffed about the Muse situation, but again, we will discuss that in detail later on. But that being said, it was kind of a mid episode for me. It wasn't like really wow, and it wasn't really like I don't know. It wasn't that great. It was mid at best, if you will. Shout out to Genneya, who's joining us in the live chat, as well as King B Johnson. We appreciate y'all being here. Genneya says, boring episode for her. So she says, felt like Muse was villain of the week.
Yeah, very well said.
I also couldn't agree more about that. And King B says, so be art for art's sake, Daredevil holidays. So yeah, this is just a mid episode for me. Tristan, what are your thoughts on this episode?
I think this episode is the definition of mid. And I think mid sometimes gets a bad connotation. Sometimes mid, depending on the scale, is like good and above, or like barely good, or enough good. And I think this episode is like the definition of enough good to make you forget about the not good, right? So like good, obviously the fight scenes, Daredevil, Muse, that's the really good. The bad was kind of like almost everything else, but like I feel like in certain ways the fight scene was so good that it kind of overshadowed, or you if you wanted to, it could overshadow a lot of the bad. But a lot of the bad is like Charlie Cox and Daredevil is carrying this season.
Yeah,
and it's kind of waiting for everybody else to catch up. This has been a very, I won't say bad, but like a very irrelevant Wilson Fisk season so far. This is like, okay, like the Muse storyline, like we'll talk about that. The way they've kind of rushed through this relationship with Matt and what's my girl's name?
Heather Glenn.
Heather.
Yeah.
No one cares.
Yeah. As like decent as the scenes are, like in totality, it's like, okay, we went from quick date to relationship. So like, just to wrap it up, like this is a definition, denotatively mid episode of television. Like I said, it's enough good to kind of carry you through, but like you start to like the bad just kind of creeps up the more and more you think about this episode and really the season as a whole.
Yeah, I'm in the same place y'all are. I think Yesenia said it well, saying it's like villain of the week. The only problem with that is the fact that this Muse character was supposed to be like one of the main villains, and that's my main problem with the episode. Is you have this character who I believe was only in like parts of 3 episodes so far, and obviously the last 2 more prominent than the other appearance, but this character just lacked development. I mean, and the whole storyline with him and Heather, like, I mean, this episode, spoiler, Muse dies in this episode. Heather shoots him because he attacks her. Daredevil tries to make the save. He actually does help make the save, but that whole scene, that whole like the whole storyline between those two in this episode. I mean, did I miss something? Like, was this the first time that Muse, aka Bastion Cooper, went to see her? Like, is that?
I don't think so. I think they have been meeting several times, but this is our first time as the audience seeing them in a session. Other than the first meeting, at the book signing was him asking for help, and she's like, I'm sure we can work something out. And then that was it. Like, it was just, just gone. There was nothing else that developed outside of that. This was the first session that we, the audience, got to see, but I don't think it was their first session.
Okay.
I could be wrong. Tristan, what do you think about that?
No, that's the first session that we see. But like you can clearly tell that there's a rapport there. He mentioned some things like you have helped me see who I am, paraphrasing. So clearly, like, there's been enough dialogue, enough sessions between them for him to like have some trust in what she's telling them, or at least delusionally have some trust in what she's telling them. So again, something that's a victim of the short season.
Yeah.
That we didn't need, like we just don't. Yeah, like Yesenia says, all tell, no show. Yeah, like, that's a great way to put it. These are the things I tell kids about, like writing essays. Like, I see you telling me, but you're not showing it. Like you telling me that Muse has been influenced or at least inspired by the work that Heather has done with him in these sessions. But like when it happens, I need to feel it. Like I need to feel it. Like you have to show it to me. Show him building up that trust. Show, him maybe being shy or pushing back at the beginning. Like all these things make these, the results worth it. And just a lot of the stuff that we're seeing in this season, and that's one example of it, is just a lot of unearned plot lines, a lot of unearned conclusions, resolutions to some of these conflicts. Like I feel like the inevitable Wilson Fisk, Matt Murdock showdown is going to feel the same way. Like I don't think enough stuffing has been put into this thing to make it feel like when it gets to that point. Maybe that's something that we just have to live through for this season, and like further seasons, hopefully we'll like listen to some backlash and adapt, longer seasons. Something closer to Netflix, even if they, don't all go fully away, but like we're missing so much story. And the thing that made, again, the Netflix series so great is like that you get all the story. Yeah. Like everything that happens for the most part are things that you feel like have earned. Like you've earned my shock. You know what I'm saying? You've earned my relief, my, whatever. So yeah, like I would have loved to see more of Heather and Muse with Bastion, some rich.
Yeah, Bastion
Cooper.
Rich,
I was like, wait, Gossip Girl.
Rupert.
Rory. Wasn't that also the villain character in X-Men 97?
Yeah, his name was Bastion something.
Yeah, Bastion. Yeah.
I was like, did he like just cross over into Daredevil? Like, what the fuck happened here?
Think about comics. There's a lot of people have the same name. I mean, think about just Batman v Superman.
Sure.
The whole Martha thing. They're both Superman and Batman's mothers are named Martha.
Martha thing, Justin.
Very common names back then when these characters were created. But
Bastion, like so common.
We should have seen more between Heather and Bastion / Muse to make it like mean something. Like him attacking her, obviously because he's this quote unquote artist serial killer who uses his victim's blood to paint these murals. Like there should have been more interaction that we saw to get to, or even explanation, her talking about, hey, like in episode 3, she's, this client keeps canceling. He says he's not ready to talk to me, or like some kind of like reference, because like he was like, I mean, he was briefly in episode 1 where he was at the book signing. Then we get him in episode 6 when he's, going on a spree. And then now in 7, he's dead. And that's a wrap for that character. And I don't know, it's just very strange. Like the pacing of the show, everything just feels disjointed to me. And I know I've been saying it over and over, but I hope that season 2, and I really do feel like season 2 will be more streamlined, will feel like a Daredevil season that we were kind of accustomed to with Netflix. Not that it's going to be the same, but I think it'll be more similar to that, with maybe some storylines that work better than this, where it's like they're just trying to get through it. It's just like, hey, we've got the actors back. We're excited we have these people back. We hope that their star power is enough to get you to watch. and we're going to give you some cool stuff, but we're also going to give you some stuff that doesn't really work. And that's really kind of been this season for me in a nutshell. Yeah.
No, it really is. I mean, the lack of character development that is Bastion / Muse, other than throughout these episodes, we've been seeing a lot of shots of the graffiti on the walls and the interpretations of the different characters of those, depicted in those murals, but you never saw who the artist was until like that 6th episode where you see Muse in his element and then murders those 2 girls that approach him. So it's just really poor writing. It's just really poor storytelling. It's really disappointing.
Yeah. And I thought that like not only was like the storyline rush, but even like their interaction went from like 0 to 70 like in 2 seconds. Where
good grief,
he's talking about, oh, I've read your books and you've helped me and I'm trying to embrace my true self and my true identity. And then he flips and becomes evil on a dot, like totally evil, and he starts sounding like Arthur Fleck from the Joker. He kind of rips off something that Arthur says about like, people are actually starting to see who I actually am, which I'm pretty sure in the first Joker movie he says the same thing.
More or
less. The guy even kind of is like trying to sound like it. I'm like, dude, you're not that guy. Like you're not like this is not for you. Like, it was just so like jarring to me to see that.
Again, short season. In a longer season, we would have had more evidence of him going from one personality to the next, being quote unquote normal and then flipping to deranged, like real quickly. We would have seen more. The only kind of priming that we got for that interaction was the file. Wilson Mayor Fisk is reading through the file, kind of going through like the time that he spent, being committed, mental hospital. Like that's all we get,
voluntarily at that. That was interesting.
So it's like we go from that to crazy. Like obviously, the serial killer, but like it doesn't feel much. Like I don't know what I'm supposed to take from that outside of just the obvious. Like, and this character development should be more complex than that. For a show that is so heavy-handed about like the messages that it tries to convey. Like I'm this city, what I'm saying? It's like, like this, the message is clear. Like it's systematic decay, environmental decay and all these things. But like we can tell that with better characterization and better storytelling overall. Just make the seasons longer. Like, why? Everybody wants a 15 episode or 13 episode season of Daredevil. Like nobody.
We were supposed to get 18.
Yeah, like I'm trying to, at least split the difference for Disney. But like, please give me 18. I would. Why wouldn't you? You can split the bitches up.
Like we're gonna go half. They're just gonna go half. But it's interesting, Tristan, because we reviewed Wednesday, the Netflix series, and the actor that plays Bastion Cooper is the same actor who played the love interest to Wednesday, and he kind of is like a similar character in a way where this guy is disturbed to so many degrees, if you will, and who has been in therapy, and it seems like it's really helping but not helping, and then towards the end he shows his true colors, but this was just done far more quickly. But I think it's kind of funny how this actor is, and I can't remember his name off the top of my head, I apologize. He is in a way kind of typecast to be that sort of character.
Yeah, definitely. That's just who this guy is right now in his career. I did appreciate how they told us, like, okay, so how could he possibly, go hand to hand with Matt Murdock? Well, because he was a
Taekwondo.
He trained at Taekwondo when he was in high school, and then apparently he also killed his high school Taekwondo instructor, who apparently is like one of the best in New York City. So
apparently not.
Yeah.
I did like when the detective is talking to Fisk, and she's like, "What do you know about Taekwondo?" And he's like, "I like boxing." I thought that was like,
bullshit.
It was just kind of like it kind of unintentionally funny, or maybe they're trying to be funny. I thought it was kind of a funny line.
That was kind of funny.
Yeah.
It's like, Wilson, did you like boxing before or after you met Matt Murdock, aka Daredevil? Because he boxed the shit out of you.
He did. And then like, we get the scene where Bastion's nose starts bleeding and he decides to take the blood and draw on the piece of paper, which I can't say I've done that. Tristan, any thoughts on that? Have you done that?
Highly unsanitary.
Yeah.
I just did that today. I don't know what you guys are talking about. Just kidding. There was no way he would have been able to trace out that face with the amount of blood that he got. I was like, wait, that's not the same amount of blood. Like, what the hell? I was very. There are these like little minute things that, for continuity reasons, just bother me. Like, if y'all have been here watching us on the Watchers for a long time, you all know how much continuity is so important to me. And when you don't do it right, it bothers me. Yeah, that was one. That was one thing. And kind of speaking on that same idea of drawings or faces or what have you, the fact that Daredevil in the lair of Muse is like, obviously I understand he's blind. He has to like see by touching like the pictures and what have you. I'm like, dude, you are putting your fingerprints all over these drawings, these paintings, and it is an active police like investigation site. What are you doing, you dumbass?
I guess also like I didn't really understand how, early in the episode that he's with Heather, he like face palms her, puts his hand on her face, and then when he's in the lair as Daredevil, he finds a picture that Muse drew of her or painted of her, and then he does the same thing, and I'm like, it's not going to be the same. Like,
no, it's not.
A painting is not going to be the same as a human face. Like, it's not going to feel the same. Yeah, that kind of. I mean, they're trying to explain it any way they can, but I did like it. Go ahead, Brittany. Go ahead.
I was going to pivot to another character part of that whole lair scene, but go ahead, finish your
story. No, I was going to also because Officer Powell once again got hit in the face by a
blind guy.
By Matt Murdock, this time as Daredevil, hit him in the face with a baton or whatever. This guy, like, he doesn't have a scratch on him, though. We see him later in the episode. He's perfectly fine. So this guy might be like one of the first mutants in the MCU. We'll see.
What I was going to say was the scene where Angela?
Yeah, Angela Del Toro. Yep.
Angela is being interviewed, if you will, by Matt in the hospital and he's asking her questions like, hey, do you remember anything like unique, anything about the layer as a whole, what have you? And she's like, well, he kept going on about paintings and this and that, what have you. He was really psyched up about all that stuff and what have you. And he goes, what do you mean, like the murals and the paintings and things? And she's like, faces. And I'm like, you were knocked out when you went into that lair. What are you talking about, child? You were literally knocked out. And then he's
draining her
you
blood
with a needle to literally keep her knocked out. And then he started draining her blood. Like, at what point was this conveyed that he was so psyched up on anything? I'm like, did I miss something?
Yes, there's like 2 episodes worth of dialogue that was missed.
Exactly.
Yeah, I had the same confusion. I was like, y'all were together, it seems like for 12 minutes, and I don't think he spoke at any point in that. So
I mean, she's just like holed over his shoulder, which, by the way, is he wearing like padding underneath his Muse outfit? Because dude is not that buff, I don't think.
No. Yeah.
He looks skinny as hell. And anyway, my point is that conversation was weird. She's like recalling all these things that were never discussed in the previous episode, let alone this one. Again, continuity. This bothers the mess out of me, y'all. Ugh.
Yeah. But just I guess we'll kind of finish up on the Heather and Muse stuff. So Heather figures out because he's drawing and has blown his blood that he's obviously Muse. She tries to escape. He knocks her out, ties her up, starts to cut her. It cuts her, starts to drain her blood. Then Daredevil comes in, makes the save. Or they, comes in, they fight. The action's pretty good. I mean, I got to give them credit for the fight. The fighting looks pretty cool. It just doesn't mean as much because the rest of the story is not as well done. But they fight back and forth. Muse had a gun with him, Heather gets a hold of the gun. Heather shoots him like 2 or 3 times, kills him, and then then like Matt's trying to Matt as Daredevil's trying to you know save her because it also the task force. This is task force. They're on the way to find her as well. They're after Muse, so it's like a race between Matt and the task force to get there, and then we get Heather killing Muse. Tristan, what do you think about how this storyline kind of wrapped up?
Anticlimactic. Like I again, just didn't get as much build up.
Yeah.
On Muse, the villain. Like again, in a regular season, this would be a 10 episode arc, maybe or more, where you kind of get introduced to the villain subtly at the beginning. They finally figure out who he is around like episode 8 or something like that. And then there comes like the real struggle between trying to bring him down. And this was 3 episodes essentially. And it didn't, when he died, it didn't mean much because he killed a bunch of people. We know that. We don't see much of it.
Yeah.
Matter of fact, by the time we meet him, he's at fucking like 57. It's like
right.
we missed 92.3% of these kills, but we're supposed to feel like, man, I wish he got justice in some type of way. But we're not invested in the character because we're not invested in the villain, and the story around it is, so rushed. It feels like, but yeah, it's good action.
Yeah.
But this is how we talk about like Drake songs. Like it sounds good, but I don't really have much of a connection to it. I don't. Some of it is cheesy, and predictable, and like Daredevil calling, or Heather, like. That's something that you already know is going to come back because eventually she'll put 2 and 2 together. Same way Punisher did, like the way that you talk. Like it's not like Matt is putting much effort into like changing his voice. He needs to get on the Christian Bale.
I'm Daredevil.
and just add a little variation. Go down an octave. But it was cool. At the end of it, I was happy Heather survived. I like Heather. I like Heather. Don't love Heather the character, but I like Heather. I think she adds some level of like a reflection of Matt's kind of maturity. This isn't Playboy Matt, anymore. Like, but the one thing I will say about this is like them going from, like I said at the beginning, them going from coffee date to I love you in the sense of like it feels like 15 minutes. Like that's something else that's not truly earned. We see very little development in that relationship. Just like to see more. That's all. Everything about this scene just kind of crystallized like the larger point. I just would like to see more, to feel more about these things. But besides that, I would have loved to see how did Daredevil get out before the task force got in. Like there's just so many things missing, but like the action, is kind of a blanket for, majority of those things.
Yeah, no, it definitely covers. And not only is it short season, short episodes. It's 9 episodes, right? But the episodes themselves are like, when you cut out the credits and everything, they're like 35 minutes. Like this was a short episode. So
these are like 10 minutes more than Abbott Elementary. You know what I'm saying? Like I don't know how much I'm supposed to get from that.
Yeah, exactly.
I'm with you, Senya. I want Playboy Matt. All right, give me Playboy Matt all day, every day. All right, like that's what I need. That's what I need.
As soon as the man grows up, man. Just when I thought I was out.
Nope. No, I'm still sus about Heather. I think she could potentially have ulterior motives. We just have yet to see that. But at the same time, that might not even develop because of the way his storytelling and writing has been thus far this season. I don't know. I'm just very skeptical of her as a whole. And to Tristan's point, this relationship has gone from 0 to 500 because we don't really have a sense of time that's really been explained, right? Other than when Fisk was elected to like New Year's Day, when he made that announcement about vigilantes and name dropping like Spider-Man and Punisher and all these other ones, right? Again, still don't have like a full sense of time about all of this. Elections are what, November, give or take?
Yeah, I mean, like
generally, like
mayoral elections, maybe, I don't know. There might have been a runoff or something. I don't know. Who knows? Yeah.
Either way, short amount of time. You go from, date 1 to I love you, maybe 3 months later. It's just like, good golly, like, no. But I forgot where I was going with my point. I think I got caught up on the whole Playboy Matt thing, and that just like made me, forget my point. But overall, the pacing of the show is it's just not good, man. It's just not good this far.
And while we don't, I mean, Heather is not unlike the villain, whereas it's not like she's been given a ton of time. And the one thing we do know is she's not a fan of vigilantes, and she even calls it out before the fighting starts. She says, that Muse is insane for putting on the mask, and only a coward puts on a mask, which cues in Daredevil, who makes the save, which Tristan alluded to. Then as she's he's trying to stabilize her as the task force is showing up, he calls her Heather, which which obviously not a smart move by Matt. Like, what's he doing? But I want to ask you, Tristan, I want to get your thoughts on this first. So the episode kind of opens with Matt visiting Angela in the hospital, and it ends with him visiting Heather in the hospital. Which one of these characters is going to find out he's Daredevil first, do you think? Now I think that, like, there's varying. I mean, obviously, I think Angela will be pretty psyched. So I think she'll be like, let's go. Okay, I'm ready. I'm glad you're Daredevil. I don't think Heather's going to be as psyched. But who do you think finds out first?
I think Heather finds out first in her head. I don't know if she actually confronts him about it. Yeah. But I think Angela confronts him about it first. But I think Heather is already kind of on the trajectory of kind of putting 2 and 2 together, like the bruises, late nights, gone when she wake up, like those things become habits and patterns, and people put patterns together. And I think Angela, maybe the same way, like maybe like the way he talks, maybe, like there's gonna be something like she's like super intuitive. And we know that she has a larger, role to play going forward. So I think she actually confronts him about it first. But Heather she might know this by the end of this season. So
which is only 2 episodes away. So not much left.
The first 15 minutes of next episode, the way the pacing.
I can get behind that. I can get behind that. Yeah, I think Angela, in the 2 episodes or just really the 1 episode that we saw her, and she's far more clever than most people, and she's very blunt and very abrupt, if you will. And I think, to Christian's point, I don't know why I called you Christian. Sorry, Tristan. To Tristan's point, I think that she would be the one to kind of like put 2 and 2 together, and then actually approach Matt and be like, what the hell? Like, why? Why? And then she'll be even more pissed off because he's a vigilante. Her uncle was a vigilante. Why didn't you do more? Blah, blah, blah. You know what I'm saying? But I think Heather will probably also keep quiet once she finds out, unless Fisk tells her in some sort of fashion, because she obviously sees Fisk as a client. She is involved with Matt Murdock, and Fisk knows that Daredevil's back. And to echo that conversation that they had in that diner, it's like, hey, when you step out of line, I'll be there. So
yeah. And speaking of Fisk, so he he has his task force take credit for taking care of Muse, which of course
as you do.
Heather shot Muse, and then of course Daredevil's the reason why Heather was still alive, but he had the task force take credit for that, and then they publicly hold up the Muse mask at the end. to show that they're to continue their anti-vigilante agenda. And I want to transition. We lost Muse in this episode. We also lost another character in this episode, a character that you could argue got more screen time than Muse did. And this guy was even more of like a side villain, like not even a villain of the week, like a villain of the first segment or whatever. Let's talk about Luca, because Luca, he tries to double cross Fisk. He tries to get tries to get Vanessa involved, meets with her, and basically explains to her like, hey, like, whenever you were in charge, things were a lot better for us. And I think that. And I think, and based on how she plays it, it seems like she's like, yeah, you're right. You're right. But this guy's the mayor. He's still in charge. So we can't disrupt that. But then the very end of the episode, we see that Vanessa texts Luca the location to where Fisk is. He's eating at this restaurant by himself, seemingly setting up Fisk to be killed by Luca. Luca shows up. Fisk is eating his dinner, and Luca walks behind him, and all of a sudden, bam, his guy Buck Cashman shoots Luca a couple times, kills him. And I guess, Tristan, my question for you is, do you think Vanessa was trying to set Fisk up, or was it a part of an elaborate plan to take Luca off the board?
I have to believe it's the latter, because anything else would have gone into that same bucket. It would have been the most extreme example of that bucket of like just unearned conclusions, resolutions. We just haven't seen enough strife outside of obviously marital strife, which is its own monster, between her and Fisk to like justify all of a sudden her wanting to like completely knock him off the board. In Luca, like his end was kind of predicted, like just how reckless he was being with Fisk, and like he's clearly had lost the perspective on like who had the true balance of power. So he had to go because he that somebody that impulsive would fuck things up for everybody. So yeah, I didn't truly ever believe that Vanessa was going to turn on Fisk. I thought that was, just a vehicle to get Luca off the map. And again, Fisk is starting to reassert a lot of his criminal, kingpin ways.
Yeah.
He's literally kidnapped and like kidnapping and confining a gentleman, below his quarters. And he's, helping, essentially setting the dude up to get killed. Like he is, his lips are quivering at a unspeakable rate, every time somebody mentions Daredevil, but he's doing the same thing. He's putting on the mask, and kind of going back to, or taking the mask off, one of the two, but like he is going back to the thing that he said that he was done with, for a larger good. But like Matt, like he's drawn to it, moth to a flame. Like, so, there was no way Vanessa was going to set him up, because he was always closer to where Vanessa was at the beginning of the season than he was, being the mayor of the city. So he can't help himself, and he's going to slip back in, or not even slip back in. He's on his way. Like even with the task force is essentially like his new game. Like he can never leave that alone, even at the expense of these broader, ambitious goals that he has for the infrastructure of the city. So no, this is him just going back to Kingpin.
Yeah, and I think Vanessa likes him more as Kingpin than the mayoral candidate or the mayor of the city. So, Brittany, I also want to say, like, I agree with what Tristan said. I do think, though, in a more interesting version of this show, or in a better made version, Vanessa trying to set him up would be very interesting. Like, it's like a subplot. What do you think?
That's exactly what I took away from their conversation. I had not. Okay, obviously, I consider the two options. Is she setting him up, or is she trying to get Fisk out of the way, right? And I hadn't considered some of the things that Tristan pointed out, which this is again why I love talking about this stuff with you guys, because I think, differently after hearing what y'all have to say.
Yeah.
But no, I seriously took it as the hurt that she had the hurt that she felt when Fisk went away, right? After the events of Daredevil, and then he went, away during Echo. She was in charge. She was in command. She liked it. And the fact that they were profitable when she was at the head of the table is huge. And now she's had to step back because Fisk is back. Now he's mayor. She, obviously had an extramarital affair that he's aware of. They're going to therapy, to her dismay. To me, it all seemed like she's just very unhappy. She's unhappy in the position that she's in. Her status is nothing anymore. She's just the wife of the mayor. She's not doing anything. And so when the proposition came up by Luca to maybe once again take the reins and what have you, and she asked, well, are you asking for my permission, or what did she say? Asking for my permission, or I can't even remember. Anyway, it doesn't matter. The point is, to me, it seemed like she was asking Luca to take Fisk out, thus the text message, thus him showing up. And in my head, it made sense that Fisk would always have his right-hand man there to protect him, right? He's essentially Wesley. Wesley would do anything for Wilson Fisk, right? And for Buck to murder this guy Luca as he was approaching him, that just totally makes sense, because he's like the bodyguard, if you will.
Yeah.
The reason I believe that this was Vanessa's way of getting out of it, or getting Wilson out of the way, is how Wilson asked Buck, could you call Vanessa and ask her if she wants me to bring anything back for her? It's like a power play at that point. It's like, you didn't get me, but I'm going to bring you food. Do you want this? You see what I'm saying? Like, I'm still here. You cannot take me out. Because in my mind, from their dynamic as a married couple now, it's very strained. She's not happy. She wants him out of the way. And he's like, I'm not going anywhere. What do you want to eat? You know what I mean? So,
yeah. Go ahead, Tristan.
The thing that I would like counter to that, and I did think about that too. So like, that's a great theory. I don't think if she was trying to set Fisk up, that she would just blatantly text Luca with like her regular phone. It's like, hey, he's alone. Here's the address. Like, there would be some level of secrecy, because man, I killed Luca, check his phone. Oh, hey, Vanessa texted him. Like told him where you were. So that would be too easy to find out. So that was my thought, because I was thinking it too.
That's valid. I just felt like, because there was so much going against her, she's no longer in charge. Her boo thing it has gone missing. She's bored. She's bored, and it's like, let's just get back to how things were when things were good and profitable, and I had people who worked for me.
Yeah, I think you can kind of look at that, him telling Buck, like, hey, give her a call and see if she wants dessert or whatever. You can kind of look at it either way. You can look at it as like you said, Brittany, like, hey, let her know that I'm still in the game, I'm still on the board. Or, hey, let her know, job well done, we pulled this off, and we're moving on. I think you kind of play it either way. We'll see what happens.
Maybe that's the point. Leave that a little bit ambiguous.
Yeah, that might be. I do want to say that after seeing Buck take out Luca, which he could have just traded him, like Nico Harrison just traded Luca. He didn't have to kill him. You can just trade him away. You don't have to kill the guy. But no, with the Luca thing, with how he's gone down, it really makes me think that White Tiger, Buck shot White Tiger, and he's the one who had.
But then why wear the Punisher shirt?
Just to show us the Punisher logo, because like those task force guys, there was a group shot with them with Fisk, and I'm like, none of these guys were the guy that shot White Tiger, because they're all just like rando guys besides Powell, and it wasn't Powell. So like, I don't know who it's, unless he's freed Bullseye. Like, I just don't know. Honestly, I don't know if they even care about telling us who shot White Tiger. Maybe I'm the only person who cares about that. But
no, I still care. Continuity.
I think it's Buck, given how easily he gunned down Luca, and they showed him like taking the silencer off the gun and everything, and like it seemed like, there is even a part in the episode where Fisk references Buck's past, and it's like, you hired me for certain reasons, and
because he sees things asymmetrically, and I'm like,
Yeah.
ooh,
yeah,
that
so,
was a great way of putting it.
So Tristan, what do you think? Do you think that Buck is the one who gunned down White Tiger, or does it even matter at this point?
I think the show wants us to not care, or I mean, maybe you're setting it up for Angela to find this out and be the one to try to get vengeance. But I can see it. I agree with Brittany. Like, what's the point of the costume? What's the point of, like, you just shoot them and kind of walk away? Like, you're already in the bushes.
Yeah.
I think they want us to believe that it was Bastion, Muse. I don't even remember. Did he have like the stuff coming from his face? Okay,
No.
Shit. I got nothing for you on that. Like, maybe it is Buck.
He was just in all black, but it's like, walking towards the camera and you see the silhouette of the skull, and it's like, well, if it was Buck all along, I think I even heard a theory. I can talk, I swear to God. A theory that it was Daniel who did it. I'm like, sure. But again, why wear the Punisher shirt if that was not going to lead anywhere other than the fact that the next episode had the cameo of Punisher?
Yeah. So Yesenia has a theory. Could it be the therapist? Those who are master cowards. Maybe it was Heather Glenn.
And we know she can shoot.
And we know she knows who the Punisher is. She knows it's Frank. I mean, I guess a lot of people do, but she wanted to meet with Frank Castle. That's the first person she wanted to meet with. So,
ooh, I like this.
Is that sufficient enough motive? Is that I hate vigilantes, so I'm gonna,
be one and
lure one in order to.
Instead of we're the watchers in the basement, we are the writers in the basement.
Writing is not that much fun, but yeah, go ahead.
It could be, I guess. Yeah. Says the journalist major.
Right. No, it's good. I hadn't thought about that. Maybe so. Either. Maybe she hates them so much she's gonna frame them, and that's her way to take them down. It would
explain why I don't like her, and I can't put my finger on it. But that's good. That's good. Yeah. I like it.
Okay. So just like how Fisk is telling the task force, hey, take credit for taking down Muse, Daniel Blake, he's telling BB, hey, don't report about Daredevil's involvement in this. You burned me before with the trash deal. Don't if you know it's good for you, then you'll report the facts that we provide. And you can kind of see like the Gandolfini guy maybe becoming his dad a little bit.
Man,
Tristan, what did you think about that?
He turned sociopath quick. Yeah. Like, he has been holding that in for some years. It's not animosity that comes with a job promotion, a smidge of power like that. You've been waiting to exert that for a while. Like, the friend zone. Yeah. You must be head incel. But I think this is one of like the few potential bright spots. Is like, because I forgot little Gandolfini's name.
Daniel Blake is the
Daniel.
Yeah.
Kind of seeing the transformation of his character has been, because as you see, his campaign manager, or his head of chief of staff, like, we didn't even see her in this episode. Like, Daniel is becoming more influential within the Fisk circle. He's still like not all the way there, with Fisk, but he's gaining a little bit more influence.
Yeah.
But he's using that influence to will some stuff around. I think it is a smart thing for Fisk to downplay Daredevil's role in taking down Muse. Especially if you're trying to gain footing with the people, gain their trust. You need trust, because like half the city is skeptical about you because you're fucking kingpin. And the other half, is waiting for you to kind of enact on a lot of the things that you promised in this campaign. So yeah, like seeing Daniel, slightly subtly threaten his own friend, in order to push this narrative for the mayor.
Yeah,
is like that's a key development, I think, because I think he can play a larger role in Fisk's decision making going forward. And so yeah, that was one of the few bright spots I thought in this episode.
yeah. Brittany, what'd you think about him sitting in Fisk's chair? Because after his mistake, now begging for saying like, "Oh, I'll still vote for you," and I don't deserve to work for you, and I'll regret this the rest of my life. Groveling in front of him, like for him to be sitting in his chair and just kind of hanging out. Do you think this kid has designs on maybe being the next Kingpin? Like, is he like like a Fisk protege? Because like to me, like that was like I didn't see that part of it coming. Like because he was just kind of like a Fisk fanboy, or like just kind of like a bro who Fisk was like, okay, well you're online, so you can help us out a little bit. And to me, this was more of like, hey, this kid like might have designs on something bigger.
It might be too early to tell, but given
it,
in light of what had happened previously with the story that was leaked by BB because he opened his big mouth, he's trying to prove himself.
Yeah.
Probably more so to himself more than anybody, right? And yes, he wants to make up for what he did to the mayor. Does he have designs for being the next Kingpin or something of that nature? It may be too hard to tell. However, I feel like when you idolize somebody, you want to start behaving and mimicking them in all sorts of facets. And I think by sitting in that chair, it's that symbolism that I'm the one in the big seat. I'm the one in charge. I call the shots here. You're just a peon in this game of life, if you will. So I think for him, that was just a way to feel more emboldened to threaten BB the way that he did. And of course, she's also a force. She's like, the story of the task force taking out Muse is, it's bullshit. And he's like, listen, he's like, this is how it's going to go. This carrot stick thing, which I actually don't fully understand the reference. You guys might have to explain that to me in a second. But this whole thing, he's explaining to her and she calls him out. She's like, are you threatening me? He says, no, I'm presenting you with an opportunity, an opportunity to make your life great. Because if you don't, it's going to be really shitty. And I'm like, I mean, for me, that was kind of the performance of the episode outside of the action, of course. That scene alone just kind of like took my breath away. I was like, oh, damn. Like we're doing this. We're doing this. But if he's trying to be Kingpin and then Kingpin gets wind of it, it might not end well. And Trisha, thank you for joining us. It's been such a long time since we've had you join us in our live chats. We've missed you. Welcome back. She says, for sure, I feel like Daniel, wants to be Fisk.
Yeah. I think that's an interesting storyline that they can explore, hopefully next season. We don't need to jump to that now, but I like if you're planting seeds that we can see next year, maybe even if there's a season 3, that's great. Like really start to kind of develop characters, because my final thing I want to talk about is Matt and Kirsten, who's his law partner, and Cherry, their private detective, which these characters they have a couple of scenes in this episode. They've had a couple of scenes all season. And I know there are a lot of people online, because I see this stuff, where one of the big complaints about the show is the fact that it's like, we really wanted Foggy, we wanted Karen, we wanted the people that we knew, because they had storylines and they had parts to play. And these characters just seem like filler to me. And my question for you, Tristan, is do you think they're ever going to be more than filler? Because like they're not giving them much to work with. And it's almost like, why put it in there? Because I used to always think with the MCU, like everything they put on screen matters, because it's, there's a finite amount of space, and everything that, leads to something else that's important. But to me, these characters just feel like filler? What do you think?
I mean, I don't know if I would say filler, though I can understand that terminology in reference to them. I would say that they're more replacements for Foggy and Karen, right? Foggy and Cherry. They are the confidants that know about his secret lifestyle, secret life, and also try to dissuade him from going back to that life.
There you
Karen, go. Up until a part, and she didn't know who he was until he told her. But at first, she was oblivious. She was seeking trust from him that he wasn't willing to give because he couldn't go all the way and like telling her everything about himself. Like they're just kind of fulfilling the same roles, just in different junctions. So I do think they'll have a larger role to play. Like it's more so right now, I guess in this first season, like they're just vehicles to show the duplicity of Matt Murdock, between who he on a surface level wants to be and at who he is at his core. And like these two, they're pillars that kind of pull him away from, one side. But I don't think we'll fully get those characters fleshed out until later seasons.
Yeah.
I kind of interpreted them a little different than what Tristan explained. I kind of viewed Foggy and Kristen, whatever the pronunciation of her name is, right?
You're going,
the law partner.
You're going Deadpool 2 on us, where it's like Kristen, whatever,
Kirsten,
yeah.
Yeah. What's her face? Okay. For obvious reasons, because she is the law partner. Foggy was the law partner. Karen came on later, as like an office manager. And then she kind of like made herself her own PI, if you will. And that's where I see obviously Cherry fulfilling that role, because he actually, was a New York police detective of sorts, or inspector. I don't know what his title was, but either way, he's got connections. He does the investigation to help out Matt. And that's just kind of how I viewed those roles. But I absolutely can see and agree with Tristan and this, how the roles are kind of repeating itself for this series. And kind of couldn't care less, truth be told. With Cherry, at least this last episode where he is obviously trying to dissuade Matt from going back into that life. And he's like, if you are going to do this, then you're doing this on your own without me. And then Matt makes the comment of, it's funny because when you needed help, you would call me. And I'm thinking, Matt Murdock, the lawyer, or Matt Murdock, the Daredevil? And if so, when? Because we never saw that.
Well, and he didn't find out that he was Daredevil until what happened with Bullseye. So yeah, I didn't think about that till right now. So that's interesting.
Yes.
So maybe Terry assumed he was Daredevil, but didn't know for sure and wasn't gonna. I don't know. Maybe he just like, I need help, and this guy helps me, and no questions asked. Just help me out.
It's so ambiguous.
Yeah.
Also, where's Mahoney? Like, where the frack is Mahoney? Like,
he's
bring
supposed
him
to be
back.
in season 2.
He should have been in season 1. Okay, like.
Well, season 1 should have been
better.
Season 4 of the Daredevil of the Netflix show.
Probably.
I think everyone, like literally everyone, thinks that now. Even the people who made the first part of this show, the first incarnation of Daredevil Born Again, they were like, you know what, we need to make it more like the Netflix show. And unfortunately, they'd already filmed 6 episodes of this new show. So anyway, Tristan, is there anything else from this episode that we didn't mention that you want to talk about?
My brother, there's not much more from this episode that I remember. Like, it's just like, I tried thinking about it today. Like when I was driving home, I was like, okay, do I need to rewatch? Because like, I know I remember all the big parts and all these things, but some of the subtle things, kind of get lost in the way. Like, I don't think there's anything else that needs to be talked about because what else happened, right? I got
Brittany, I think we hit it all, but is there anything I didn't get to?
I think other than the conversation that Wilson had with Buck in the mayor office about just how Daredevil really took down the Enterprise and you know how his righteousness, and it's just like, oh god, like I felt that ferocity when he said that. But how basically Buck was asking, but you're over all of that, right? Like because and it was the way that he said the word mayor. He's like, you're the man. And it's like, are you saying you're the man? Like, because I heard man. I watched this episode twice and I'm like, he's saying man. I mean, I know he's English, but like mayor. Say it with us. Mayor. Anyway, but this whole thing of Wilson basically saying like, yes, I have resources. I have, you know, cops at my disposal, da 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 da. And I think it was just that kind of way of saying I have this in a more legitimate way that I never had before. And now I'm still going to do like all the shit that I was doing before I became mayor, because there was a line about going after people who think they can rise up above the law. And I'm like, is irony lost on him? Truly.
Well, but he is the law, right? Like, you know, like
it's his law. The one who decides when it's a good you know, what's a good justification. Again, like he's entrapping, you know, so like he's literally confining somebody in a dungeon, essentially. Like that, it gets no more outside the law than that. But like for him, he has a good reason. So,
and I suppose that's part of the reason why he hasn't gotten his hands dirty, just quite so. In the literal sense, because it was Buck who killed Luca. I mean, Wilson didn't kill Adam as far as that we're aware, but you know, he does just enough to kind of, I guess, tame the beast that's within.
Yeah,
I don't know.
So, you know, he gave him the bat or whatever the fuck.
Axe, I think. Yeah,
axe. Yeah.
Oh, right. Yes, self-defense. Yeah.
Self-defense. I mean, again, you're in prison, the gentleman. Like, like we can't. What are we doing?
Yeah.
Well, 2 more episodes to go of Daredevil Born Again. We will be back to discuss those. Before we get out here today, I want to mention CinemaCon is happening right now in Las Vegas. And if you're not aware, CinemaCon, what it is every year there's a convention in Las Vegas where this movie studios put on basically a presentation for theater owners, the people that own the movie theaters that we go to. And it's trying to hype up, like, here's what we have coming up in the next year or years or months or whatever, to try to get them like, hey, you really need to give us as many screens as possible. And all the movie studios are there. They're all doing presentations. In fact, I think right now Universal is doing their stuff. So if there's any kind of Fast and Furious stuff, I'll be checking that out later, or Jurassic World, or even Wicked for Good. If there's a new trailer, we'll be might be talking about that at some point. But the convention started off with Sony, and Sony had a really good convention as far as like announcements. And I want to get to some of this stuff. The first thing, and Brittany, if you wouldn't mind sharing the image, we finally found out that the 4th Tom Holland Spider-Man movie will be is titled Spider-Man Brand New Day. It hits theaters July 31st, 2026, which is about 2.5 months after Avengers Doomsday, if these movies keep their dates and don't move. The movies is going to be directed by Destin Daniel Cretton. And if you're familiar, you might be familiar with that guy because he also did Shang-Chi and the Legend of the Ten Rings. So he's taking on the Spider-Man movie. Brittany, when you saw this, what did you think about this title? I mean, it's a reference to a comic book storyline that's very similar to what happened after what happened, you know, in Spider-Man No Way Home. Doctor Strange makes the spell where everyone forgets that Peter Parker is Spider-Man, right? In the comics, it's Mephisto does something similar. And then after that, the comic storyline is called Brand New Day, where Peter is on this new journey. He doesn't have MJ anymore. He's basically by himself. And you get, you know, a whole new set of characters are involved in Spider-Man. What do you think about the MCU doing this with this title?
First and foremost, I saw it on Instagram, and it was about 4 hours before April Fool's. So I knew it was real, first and foremost, because you just never know these days with social media and April Fool's Day. However, given that I'm probably the least enthusiastic about Spider-Man, Although I do very much enjoy Tom Holland as Spider-Man, right? He's I think really really great in that role. I I was a little surprised just to see an announcement at all regarding Spider-Man. Brand new day. It's very appropriate based on the explanation you gave of what happened with the events of Doctor Strange and having pretty much removed Peter Parker from the world, and he is on a solo journey, if you will. Will he be able to reconnect with MJ? Will he be able to reconnect with Ned, his past life of any kind? Who knows? Who knows what this story is going to lead to? This comes out, as you said, after Doomsday. So I'm guessing Tom Holland is not going to be retiring anytime soon. I've heard rumors that he and Zendaya are talking potentially like once they get married, once they have kids, they're just retiring from acting altogether. I'm guessing that's not happening anytime soon because these movies are going to be big, huge, huge. I will go see it. I'll say that I will go see it.
And so there's also some thought, and Tristan, I want to get your thoughts on this about how, you know, the Tom Holland movies, all of them had the word home in the title. You had Homecoming, Far From Home, No Way Home. There's a thought that maybe Day might be the new word for this next trilogy of potentially Tom Holland movies. Potentially there might be another Spider-Man. We're going to get to that in our next slide. But Tristan, what do you think about the title? Are you excited about this movie? Do you think because, you know, it's going to pick up where he left off in No Way Home, where he's in New York City, do you think maybe we might get characters like a character we just talked a lot about, Daredevil? Do you think Daredevil will cross over because he was in the last Spider-Man movie as Peter Parker's lawyer? What do you think about all this stuff?
Yeah, I definitely think there's a high potential of us seeing Daredevil there.
Yeah.
I do like the shift because it is a brand new day. Like there's no more home because he can't really truly go back home, you know, in the way that, you know, he wants to. So yeah, like the last movie, you know, was him, you know, essentially going off to college. Like that new day was going to happen regardless. So it's like now you forced into it. So I love, I'm super excited, you know, love all the Spider-Man movies for the most part. You know, even going back to Sony. And I'm excited to see the new arc that Spider-Man takes because, you know, it's going to be like super different from any other Spider-Man that we've seen before.
Yeah, I'm really looking forward to this. And, you know, we talked about last week about how the Doomsday cast, at least part of the cast was announced last week. And a lot of people were like, hey, where's Spider-Man? There's no Spider-Man. And there's some talk that, well, maybe there's no Spider-Man because this movie is happening almost at the same time as Avengers Doomsday as far as production. And so we might not see much Spider-Man, if at all, maybe just like a post credit or something in Doomsday. But yeah, I'm literally looking forward to this one. And I'm glad we finally got a title because people have been calling it Spider-Man 4 for 3 years now or so. So it's good to have a title, cool title. I really think it leads to a lot of exciting possibilities. And yeah, can't wait to see that. Sony's other announcement, Spider-Man related, was the fact they gave us a release date for the final movie in the Spider-Verse trilogy. This is Beyond the Spider-Verse. It drops June 4th, 2027. They dropped a few images from the film. We're looking at one right now where we see Miles taking on the Prowler version of Miles that we saw at the end of Across the Spider-Verse, which, I mean, if you haven't seen Into the Spider-Verse or Across the Spider-Verse, go watch those as soon as you possibly can. And Brittany, by the way, on the show, she's never seen these two movies, two of the best superhero movies ever made, like literally ever made. And people have been wondering, when is this movie going to come out? Because the Beyond the Spider-Verse came out in June of 2023. So it's going to be almost 4 full years before we get the conclusion of this storyline. Tristan, I want to get your thoughts on this, the Spider-Verse franchise as a whole, and how excited are you for this movie? And we're going to have to wait a little while before we get to see it.
The first Spider-Verse movie is in the top 5 of superhero movies that I've ever seen in my entire life. And Beyond the Spider-Verse might be better, you know? So like that, it's like dropping Good Kid, Mad City, and then like To Pimp a Butterfly. Like what? Who the hell does that? These are like two cinematic like masterpieces in my opinion, and I don't watch them enough. You know, if I'm being honest with myself. So I could not between Brand New Day and Spider-Verse. Like I couldn't tell you which one I'm more excited for.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that you know, Brittany, you were alluding to maybe Tom Holland retiring as Spider-Man. He has talked a lot about you know, passing the mantle, doing other stuff. He's going to be in the Odyssey, which is the Christopher Nolan movie, which I believe is coming out next year.
Oh yeah, we will talk about that.
Yeah, that's also one of those movies like Oppenheimer, where they're like half of Hollywood. You're either in Avengers Doomsday or you're in the Odyssey, or maybe you're in both of those movies, but everyone is in one of those movies.
Yep.
And so Tom Holland, he's going to be in Spider-Man Brand New Day. I believe he'll be Spider-Man for a little bit longer. However, I believe the next Spider-Man is on the screen right now. And I've said this for years now. I believe that Beyond the Spider-Verse, just based on the title, because the Spider-Verse movies are the best animation you've ever seen. And apparently they're upping the level of animation somehow in the third one. They said that they're doing something that's never been done before, which the first two I'd never seen what they did. I've never seen that before. Haven't seen it since, honestly. But I believe that Beyond the Spider-Verse, when it ends, Miles Morales will be in the live action world, and he will be possibly in the MCU universe. I'm not sure, like, because this movie is going to come out supposedly after Avengers Secret Wars drops, which Secret Wars might be the way to kind of not reboot the MCU, but certainly transition it to another phase. And I believe that phase will have Miles Morales in it because of this movie. So, Brittany, what do you think about that? And are you ever going to watch these Spider-Verse movies?
I mean, y'all already know I'm not the most enthusiastic when it comes to Spider-Man. I can't explain why. It just is.
Yeah.
And that's not to say I wouldn't give this movie a shot. Y'all have talked about how great both movies are. And it looks, I mean, maybe it's just because it's not necessarily my forte. Obviously, that's why I haven't taken the time to watch these movies. Yesenia has said here in the chat, she's like, oh, wow, we need a reaction video. And that's something we've kind of talked about doing here on the Watchers in the Basement. We're not just quite set up to do reaction videos in that way. But I mean, yeah, I'll probably watch it one day, maybe when this final movie comes out, and I'll just watch all of them in, like, you know, just binge it and just be done with it. I don't know. Y'all also know that I am a late bloomer to like big mainstream type things at times. Like, that's just, I don't know. I operate very different from a lot of people. And it's kind of sad because obviously we come here to do this pod to talk to y'all about all things pop culture and things that we really enjoy. But this just happens to be one of the things I don't necessarily enjoy.
Yeah.
Sorry.
I will say Into the Spider-Verse won the Academy Award for Best Animated Film that year. And Beyond the Spider-Verse is probably better. It didn't win the award, but it's probably better. So I honestly, these are two of the best superhero movies ever made. And I mean, for the artwork, for the music, for just the vibe, like they're just like next level. I mean,
yeah,
I don't know anybody who's seen these movies who doesn't think they're like spectacular. It's almost like you can't compare them with other Spider-Man movies or other movies. They're like they're in a different category. They really are, because they're just so unique.
Now I'm just determined to watch these movies at some point and then just like prove to you that I don't like it and I don't think they're that great.
You'll be lying to yourself and the audience.
I feel like challenge accepted. Okay. So
okay. Well,
I mean, when you said it about how I'm on this podcast and I still have yet to watch any of these movies, Tristan's like, oh my God, like his heart skipped a beat for a second, you know?
Yeah, shit is like recommending a James Baldwin book. Like I can't let you pass without, hey man, you gotta watch this. But I think you'd enjoy it. It doesn't tell the same Spider-Man story. Like, you know, whatever misgivings you have about Spider-Man, like this is a completely different story, told through different perspective, much different than any like canon that I've seen at least. Like I haven't.
Yeah.
I know they're like Spider-Verse, comics. But it's completely different than anything you've seen, and like the visualization of it is top tier. It is A+. Like just it's a beautiful, stunning animated movie. I couldn't say better things about it. Like again, I don't know why I don't watch it more.
Yeah.
But highly suggest. I would highly suggest it.
Well, you say that. Yesenia says, believe the hype. I'll watch it one day.
It handles the multiverse the best. It just does.
Yeah. Okay.
Because it is a completely different Spider-Man story, but it's all the Spider-Man stories combined. And it like you just have to watch it to see it, and you see versions of Spider-Man that don't even make sense, but they like it works in the movie. Like it's ridiculous things that like you'll fall.
It's like Deadpool.
Kind of like Deadpool a little bit. Like similar in certain ways. But no, it's a great story. I can't wait till we get the conclusion of the story, which I believe will end up in live action. I might be wrong, but I think that they want this character to get out there. Sony needs this character because their other live action Spider-Man movies without Spider-Man are horrible. So they've got to get Miles in live action. I believe he will end up there. Another really interesting Sony announcement. I mean, honestly, this is like unprecedented for movies. And Brittany, if you can share the final image I have, is Sony is making not one, not two, not three, but 4 movies about the Beatles, about each individual member of the Beatles. So John Lennon, Paul McCartney, Ringo Starr, and George Harrison. Okay, so and like I mean, if you're watching us, we're showing the cast of the movie. So on our left, or on your left, as you're looking at the screen, you're seeing Harrison Dickinson, I believe is his name. Harrison Dixon, who I saw him in the Iron Claw. He's going to play John Lennon. Paul Mescal from Gladiator 2 fame is going to be Paul McCartney. Barry Keoghan from the Batman fame and some other things, he's going to be Ringo Starr. And then Joseph Quinn is in everything. He's in the Fantastic Four. Now he's in the Fab Four. He will be playing George Harrison. These movies are coming out. Get this. They're coming out April 2028. And it's unclear whether they will all come out the same weekend or one every weekend in April. Either way, it's insane. The Sony chairman said that this is the first in cinema history. It'll be the first bingeable cinematic experience. So Tristan, I want to get your thoughts on this. What do you think about 4 different Beatles movies coming out potentially the same weekend in April, or certainly in the same month? Are you interested? What do you think about it?
No. I would be interested in a Beatles movie.
Right.
Yeah.
I'm somewhat of a Beatles fan. Love Abbey Road. I don't think the Beatles are. I've watched documentaries on the Beatles. I've read, long form articles on the Beatles. I don't think the Beatles are that interesting. Outside of like their initial phenomenon, like again, this is a group that only, as far as mainstream, only really lasted about 6 years. And even that ended in like 69. Like it's not even just the fact that we're far removed from it, but like everything that there is to be said about the Beatles has been said about the Beatles. Like a John Lennon documentary, I'm here for it. Even a Paul McCartney documentary, I'm here for it.
No love for George, no love for Ringo. Wow.
I've seen the George Harrison documentary. HBO Max has a really good George Harrison documentary.
Yeah.
Ringo Starr, I've seen a documentary on him. Like I've seen it. Like I don't need more. Like there's not much more of a story to tell. So I'll probably watch one of them, probably John Lennon or something like that. And I would watch a full Beatles doc or series, but all 4 of them concurrently, hell no, man. It's sports. What the fuck? Like,
well, I mean,
who else is starting? Like, nobody's doing all that.
Well, it's also like, how long are these movies? Because like, are you going to be at the movie theater for 12 hours or what? I mean, like, to me, the idea just sounds insane. But you bring up a great point, because obviously John Lennon and Paul McCartney are far more interesting and far more popular members of the Beatles. So if you put these 4 movies at the same time or in the same month, their movies are going to do far much better than the Ringo Starr film and the George Harrison film. No shade against them. I mean, they're legendary musicians, but it's just, to me, the idea is just like bonkers. Now we'll see if it actually happens, because 2028 is a long time from now with our country. Who knows if we'll even be around, but like, I hope we are, but just, there's a lot of crazy stuff going on, but I feel like that's just like an insane idea. Brittany, what do you think about having 4 Beatles movies in 1 month, which is actually your birthday month too? So
It's a good month.
yeah,
It's a good month, y'all. Just saying. I'm actually looking forward to it. I do like biopics.
Yeah.
Pretty much for a lot of different musicians. Beatles has a little bit more of a special place in my heart, just because of the fact that my parents grew up in that era and grew up listening to their songs. And not that I've had the opportunity, but my siblings and my mom at least have gone to go see the Fab Four on tour. And they said it's wonderful. It's a great time and what have you. Yes, we're all very familiar with 2 out of the 4 Beatles, if you will. No shade to George and Ringo, but I think the opportunity to share the spotlight equally on all 4 members and to have like a solo movie, it's kind of it's different, because usually, yes, you would think, oh, if we're going to do something about the Fab Four, the Beatles, it's just going to be in one movie. Think Bohemian Rhapsody, right?
Mm-hmm.
This is an opportunity to dive deeper into, each individual life. And for people who thought that Kanye West was going to bring Paul McCartney up and, he's going to launch him.
Yeah.
Y'all about to learn. All right. Y'all about to learn. I can't believe that was a thing back in the day. Children.
I just wonder, surely the other members of the band are going to be in other movies, right? Like, it's not just going to be like the George Harrison movie isn't just going to be a solo George Harrison, like his origin, because that, to me, that would be like a mistake. But then I wonder, is it going to build up to like almost like the Avengers? Like, you go from like, hey, let's make an Iron Man movie and a Captain America and a Thor and a Hulk, and then we're going to have the Avengers. Maybe they're going to do like a Beatles thing, where like the Beatles movie comes out the next summer. Or, I don't know. It's a crazy idea. We'll see what happens with it.
Well, let's see what is here in the chat. Trisha, she says, I think the Beatles movies are going to be overhyped and under delivered. Yesenia says, I love the Beatles, but not sure about this. King B says, Michael Jackson is the king of pop. Hashtag this is it. Referring to the biopic.
Yeah, there is a Michael Jackson movie in the works right now. I think it's getting pushed to maybe 2026. There was some information about that yesterday, but it's not, there wasn't a ton out there. So we'll see what happens with that. I did want to talk about John Wick, because the world of John Wick is expanding rapidly. Lionsgate, that's the studio for John Wick. They announced that not only are they doing John Wick 5, which, spoilers for John Wick 4, our assassin hero dies in that movie. Well, there's going to be a John Wick 5. There's also going to be an animated John Wick prequel to get all his backstory that we didn't get from the first 4 movies. And Ballerina is coming out this summer. That's going to be Ana de Armas. She is also in the John Wick world. We're going to see that. And Donnie Yen, the one of the characters in the actor in Deadpool in John Wick 4. The character's named Kane, which I don't really remember that movie that well, but he's also getting a solo film that he will also direct. So just a ton of John Wick news out there. Tristan, are you a John Wick fan? Or are you looking forward to any of this stuff?
Not really. I've seen the first 3.
Okay. Love the first 2.
Every time I see a John Wick rumor, I'm like, surely we have to be done with this. So I probably won't see 5. Once I'm done with like a plot or a story, like done. John Wick should have ended at 2, in my opinion. Again, 1 and 2 are classics. And 3 was entertaining as hell. I couldn't tell you anything about 4. So no, one of those things we should have ended a little bit earlier, like determined to jump that shark. So
Yeah, it's a $1 billion franchise, and Lionsgate doesn't have very many of those, so they're gonna milk it dry. Brittany, you looking forward to the John Wick stuff?
Hell yeah. Hell yes. Oh my God. That movie. Those movies are great. I enjoy these movies so much. Keanu Reeves. He said he would love to play John Wick as long as he possibly can, but he says his knees tell a different story. So probably has to rely a little bit more on a stunt double for any future installments that is John Wick. But yeah, I think if we can get a good story for 5 and damn it, resurrect that man. Okay. Resurrect him. He never died, right? If we get a prequel of how he got into that business, right? I think it'll be fascinating, truth be told. Yeah. So yeah, give me animated, all the John Wick.
So. John Wick into the Spider-Verse, or
you're determined to make me dislike you. Anyway, no, I enjoy these movies very much. I just hope that they will come to a stopping point far sooner than what they've done with Fast and Furious. Just saying.
Yeah, I got you. Like I said, CinemaCon's continuing throughout the week. Amazon, I think, is tonight or tomorrow. Universal is right now. Tomorrow is Disney, so that's a big one. Paramount's tomorrow, so you're probably going to see some stuff on your social media feeds about CinemaCon. And I'm always excited to see what's coming out in the next couple of years. So maybe we'll talk about more of that next week. The final thing is, and I want to put up, Kimby Johnson mentioned this about Val Kilmer, sadly passed away over, I believe it was yesterday. He died from pneumonia. He had a long battle with throat cancer. And I want to bring this up because, the 30th anniversary of Batman Forever, which that's the movie where he played Batman, is only a few months away. That it's coming up in June. Obviously, he had a lot of great roles, but Tristan, I want to get your thoughts on Val Kilmer passing, and do you have a favorite Val Kilmer movie role?
The two for me are, well, first of all, R.I.P. Rest in peace. Love and light to his family and fans, including myself. But yeah, Batman Forever. That's the first time in conscious as a moviegoer that I knew of Val Kilmer. But then going back and watching Heat, those are the two roles that I associate him the most with. So rest in peace, man. But he's a legend. You see the totality of his career. I didn't know how well known he was for the way he treated other. I read something about him talking about his experience on working with Al Pacino and Robert De Niro in Heat, and he was like a kid in a candy store, just kind of soaking up being in the presence of all these other stars, and then he became one himself. So rest in peace.
Definitely.
Absolutely. My two movies, very polar opposite of one another, because my dad loves Westerns. Tombstone was watched all the time in the household. So Doc Holliday, man, one of my favorite lines that he utters in that movie is, "And she walked out of our lives forever." I just his delivery of that line is just so iconic in my mind. I love him in that movie. But the struggle, oh my gosh, too soon, too close, But the other one, and Yesenia actually beat me to it, is The Prince of Egypt. It's an animation from, I believe it was DreamWorks, and it's the story of Moses and Ramesses and what have you. Val Kilmer was the voice of Moses, and Ramesses was voiced by the one and only Ralph Fiennes, who I absolutely adore as well. It's an animation. It's one of my favorites of all time. I remember it was released Christmas of whatever year it was, and we went to go watch it in the theaters as a family, and I'll never forget it. So of course there's plenty of others, but those two are my Val Kilmer movies. But I do remember watching Batman Forever in the front row of the cinema with my brother and just sitting up like this the entire time thinking it was cool. But yeah, rest in peace to Val Kilmer. May his loved ones be comforted during this difficult time. And hopefully he will be remembered fondly.
Absolutely. And you mentioned Batman Forever. That movie, I'm not sure how well it's held up because I haven't watched it in many years, but that movie was an absolute smash hit back in 1995. Like that movie like dominated that summer from the soundtrack to the McDonald's giveaways. And like I think we might actually do like a 30th anniversary Batman Forever in a couple months to talk about it more because that was a big, big movie, and it was the biggest Batman movie to that time. It did better than the original two Batman movies that Michael Keaton were in. Now, the Keaton movies were legendary; they were more iconic, but box office wise, Batman Forever was better. Um, to me, like I think y'all mentioned a lot of his great roles. The one that we haven't mentioned is Iceman in Top Gun. Like he was like, he was the villain in Tom Cruise like first biggest movie. Like he was like his. I mean, they weren't wasn't necessarily a villain, but like he was like his adversary, his competition, and that's kind of what like skyrocketed his career was that movie, and then he went on to do so many roles. I mean, yeah, Tombstone is like, I'll be your Huckleberry, like that's like that was like everyone said that like in the late '90s and like early 2000s. That was such a huge thing. So definitely will miss Val Kilmer, and there is a Val Kilmer documentary on Prime that I think has been out there for 2 or 3 years. It's I have not seen it, but I've heard it's very like critically acclaimed. So I'm sure people will be checking that out, giving his passing. So once again, rest in peace to Val Kilmer. Um, don't always want to end on a sad note, but thought we should mention him because he's such an icon in this field. So as we're kind of getting out of here, Brittany, now that everybody knows what we think about Daredevil and the news from CinemaCon, we want to know what they think about it. How can they let us know? Oh, you're muted. You're on mute.
Damn it. You think I'd know better by now.
It's happened to all of us.
Jeez. Such a unprofessional I am right at this moment. Anyway, quick shout out to Trisha who joined us in today's live chat. She's got to catch an early flight tomorrow. Safe travels, Trisha. I know where you're going. I wish I could be there with you because I need to go back to Universal Stat. Anyway, that being said, because Trisha is in the chat, we encourage everyone to join us in our live streams, just like King B. Johnson, Trisha, and Yesenia did. If you are interested, be sure to hit that notification bell. That way you know the next time we go live, which will be next week. Next week, we're coming back with the latest 2 episodes of 1923. I know Frank and Marcy and Tristan all have some feelings. Y'all should see our private chats. My goodness. That being said, come join us.
It's the finale too.
Well, yes, but they're going to cover that, I think, later. However,
no, the finale airs Sunday.
I'm talking about the other 2 episodes that need to be covered, Justin.
Isn't it just 2 total?
No, we need to cover. We're covering last week's episode and then the finale.
Okay, so 2 episodes, right?
Shush. Moving on. So join us if you're interested in 1923. That'll happen next week, next Monday. We also got The Handmaid's Tale coming up, y'all. I'm personally very excited about the season or the series finale of The Handmaid's Tale. It is a tough watch, but damn it, I'm a completist. I will be there to watch it. We're going to be joined probably by some other watchers as well. So once again, hit that notification bell, hit the subscribe button if you haven't done so already. We're actually back at 437, y'all. Let's increase the numbers. Let's not go down. Let's go up. So also hit the like button. Don't forget that. If you're watching the replay, leave a comment down below. Let us know your thoughts on the latest Daredevil and what's been going on with CinemaCon. And check out our social media links in the description box down below. Lastly, check us out on audio podcasts. That's Apple and Spotify. Give us a 5-star rating. Give us a follow.
Thank you, Brittany. I appreciate it. So for Brittany and for Tristan, I'm Justin saying thanks for watching. Thanks for listening. We will see you next time. Have a good night. Bye-bye.